the end of what has been the most bizarre half term in the history of certainly my career. Very strange times, logistically very challenging, reopening a school in the midst of a global pandemic. But the first thing I want to say is thank you to all of you as parents, carers and wider families for supporting us as a school in helping us open successfully. We've had a fantastic 7 weeks. And although there have been many challenges and it's been logistically difficult at times, your support has made it increasingly easy to manage. So thank you for that. We did say, or I did say earlier in a different video, that I wanted 100% attendance. Unfortunately, we haven't managed quite to get to that level. However, what we have had is attendance that's well above the national average. I think that's running at around 89%, and our attendance is well into the mid to high 90s on any given day, which is fantastic. So thank you again for that support. The way we manage attendance, I did say would change in this half term, and it has. We've worked with families trying to break those barriers down to ensure students attend regularly every day. We will be working in a more traditional way from half term. Paul Donnell, our pupil welfare officer, will be starting some of his more legal-based work again, obviously as we sort of try to return to a normal way of working. But if you've got issues, if you need to talk to us about an attendance problem, etc., get in touch. admin@aspire.fcat.org.uk or the usual phone number, and we can have that meeting, we can have those conversations, and again try and support you as families to break down any barriers that you may have. In terms of school progress, we have made some phenomenal progress in this half term. Obviously, at the start, it was about trying to identify gaps in learning because different students had done different amounts of work in the remote learning that we put in place during the lockdown. But what we found is the gaps are not quite as stark as we thought they might have been. And we are working using our golden hour model to really fill those gaps and use things like our golden reflection and improvement time to make sure that all the students are at the right level for them and that nobody is being left behind. So progress is one of the biggest thrills that I've had this term. Our dedicated teachers, our fantastic teachers and support staff have really shown their professionalism over the last 7 weeks and made for some fantastic learning experiences. And the students' progress rates that we're seeing in the assessments that are starting to be completed now are really pleasing. So again, thank you for your support in terms of that. Linked to that is obviously the mock exams for year 11. We were going to do the mock exams in November. We've decided to put them back now until after Christmas, and they'll be done in the final 2 weeks of the first spring half term before February half term. And the reason for that is we want the students to be as prepared as possible. At the moment, in England, the exams are going to take place. They're going to be a bit later and they're going to have some reduction in content, but generally speaking, the exams are going to happen as they normally would. In Scotland, that's not the case. So there's a possibility if lockdowns happen, Lancashire is now in tier 3, for example, we don't know what will happen in the future. It is really important that the students in year 11 in particular are working really hard in class, working really hard at home, because it'll be that information along with the mocks in February that we based our centre assessed grades on. All students in every single year group will receive a Building Back Better report in November, and that report will have on it a progress measure, and for year 11 specifically it will have what grade we feel each child is working on in each subject, like we normally would. It will also have some personalised comments from their form tutor. The form tutors are in the best position ever to make those comments, to make those judgments about each child, because not only are they seeing them every morning, but they are also teaching them as part of each bubble, which is fantastic. And hopefully you'll find that report when it comes out in a few weeks' time very useful. You'll see the centre assessed grade if you're a year 11 parent, and then we'll update that centre assessed grade following the mock exams in February, and it'll be those pieces of information that we use for the centre assessed grade. So every lesson, every golden hour at Aspire for every child, but in particular year 11, really counts. Student conduct, the behaviour, if you like, since we've returned has also been much better in terms of, it's been really good actually. Conduct in terms of consequence points are down at the same time last year, and we found that the general behaviour of students in and around school has been fantastic, considering that they've been out of school in the main for 6 months. So again, we thank you for your support around the behaviour, etc. What we've also noticed is how resilient each child has been. Clearly, being in a year group bubble and staying in the same classrooms all throughout the day, only going out at break and at lunchtime has been, in some cases, very challenging. It's been very challenging for the staff as well. However, the students have really adapted to that way of working, and they've shown one of our core character traits at Aspire. If you look at the Laureate character framework, which is resilience, and our students have shown that sort of brilliant resilience in absolute spades, and that's something that we're really, really proud of each child for. And our staff as well, we've had well above national average staff attendance as well, despite the COVID pandemic and some staff being off for that. But there have been bumps in the road. I'm not going to lie. We had to send year 10 home, and we sent the year 10 home because we had 2 cases. Then we had to send one of the classes within year 8 home because we had another case in that year group. And you might say, well, why the different process for different year groups? Well, if you think about year 10, yes, they're in the same classroom for core subjects, but actually they mix when it comes to geography, history, and their option subjects. And therefore, there was much more contact as a mix within that year group. But we sent the year group home on the Friday. We then sort of put our foot on the ball, had a look at the track and trace within school, with the first intention to start bringing students back, but then we had the second case, and the guidance from PHE was very much about sending the whole year group home and keeping them there. In year 8, it was a case within one class. That class doesn't mix with the other classes, so we were able to send that group home with 1 or 2 other individuals that we traced, but without having to send the full year group home. And guidance is changing all the time, and therefore we might have a different year group that we have to make some decisions about in November, December time, and we make a different decision than we have in the past because the guidance is different or because there's certain nuances with that particular case. So we are looking at the science each time, we're looking at the practicalities, and we're also looking at the DFE protocols. So we'll try to communicate that as best we can if we do get another case. Uniform has been fantastic, really, really good. I've been very impressed with how the students have come back. They look amazing. We have tried to allow students to come in the PE kit for reasons so that we can keep the practical PE sections, which a lot of schools have lost because they haven't got the changing rooms open. We've negated that. It's actually very beneficial because it increases the length of a PE class because there's no changing at either end, which obviously reduces the amount of practical sport that can be done, which is great. And participation levels are up. Students that perhaps might have felt anxious about getting changed or whatever it might have been, are now participating much more readily in PE, which is great. However, there are 1 or 2 where the uniform at PE isn't quite as good as the main uniform, and that needs to be sorted. We've worked with you, we've tried to break down the barriers, but now we need to make sure that that's the case. So full PE kit, please, on PE days. Dark tracksuit pants if you don't want to wear shorts. I won't blame you in the winter months. But if they don't have the hoodie or the tracksuit top, then it is the school blazer over the top. It's not a Puma hoodie or it's not a Ralph Lauren hoodie or whatever that may be. So please can we make sure that uniform when we return is spot on. Since year 10 came out, we've noticed 1 or 2 nails and 1 or 2 nose studs starting to creep in. And again, we're trying to work with families. We don't want to be punitive too much about uniform because we want students in school, but actually after the half-term holiday, those students will be in isolation until it's sorted. So please, can you work with us? There's a clear uniform policy online, and all students need to follow that. Face masks. Wow. So going from no face masks to every child wearing them and members of staff in communal spaces has been a challenge, but the compliance level of all students has been extremely high, which is great. One thing that I do ask for your support on, just like you'd expect your child to wear a blazer, can you make sure, please, that they bring to school 1 of the 2 masks that we gave them at the start? We've given lots out who've lost them and things like that, and we do have disposable ones to give out on a daily basis. But it is frustrating when students don't bring their own masks, and we haven't got a finite, only got a finite number of masks to give out. So please, can I ask for your support in that? Finally, for me, it's just to say how proud I am of all the students for coming back the way that they have, but I want to make particular reference to year 7. And the reason for that is many of our year 7s had never entered the Aspire building before the 1st of September, never mind going into classes and adapting to the way that we're working so readily, so amazingly well. So it is a real testament to those young people how well they have returned to full-time education in a very unfamiliar setting, in a very unfamiliar way of working. They've been fantastic. Not to say the other years haven't, but the other years obviously had got a taste, particularly year 10 into 11, of how things might be. One last thing from me, Blackpool Transport, we've had loads of commendations about our children and how they've conducted themselves in a very positive manner on public transport, buses, etc. But we have had 1 or 2 complaints about students wearing those masks on public transport. So can we please make sure that we just press that home if your child does indeed travel on buses to school, and we'll continue to push that message in school as well. So it's a final. I started with a thank you, I'll finish with a thank you. It's been a fantastic half term. Like I say, get in touch if you've got any suggestions about how we're working, or you've got any queries that you just want to chat through. Thank you for your continued support, and I'll see you again very, very soon. Take care now. Bye.